We share our presentation.
Yeah. Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So so we are Chi Pham and Hồ Thị Thanh. Here is our presentation entitled "Continuing Marxist Perspectives of Literature and Politics in Vietnam: National Allegories in Vietnamese Eco-Criticism." Vietnamese environmental analysis of literature form a major interest among Vietnamese scholars of literary studies in recent years. There are two international conferences on ecotourism in recent consecutive years. In 2017, American Embassy in Hanoi and the Vietnam Academy of Social Sciences co-organized the first international conference on literature and environment in Vietnam, entitled Eco-Criticism, Global and Local Voice. The conference attracted presentation from 20 international scholars and 102 Vietnamese scholars. Not so long after that, in January 2018, the newly launched Association of Literature and Environment of ASEAN held its second workshop in Hanoi. This conference had more than 60 presenters coming not only all the Southeast Asian countries, but also from Taiwan, China, Hong Kong, and France. And besides, there are a number of workshops and conferences at national and local level have taken place in universities and research centers about environment and literature. Also, there are many publications and articles about this topic. And here you see we have in front of you is the book, an edited book called, here's the name in English, is Eco-Criticism, Local and Global Voice. This is the post-conference publication of the conference that are co-organized by American Embassy and Vietnam Institute of Literature. And we can see that, and also there are monographs by our leading expert in ecotourism. With the monograph entitled in English can be translated as "Burned Forest, Dry Stream, and Poisonous Seas and Literature." It is published in 2017, and also next thing. And we also have some other edited books that include a lot of essays about literature and environment. And publication, it can be said that publication about environmental and literature in Vietnam shares the ideas of how Vietnamese literature touches upon ecological and environmental crises that have been caused by modernization and industrialization. And in this paper, we examine eco-critical scholarly writings in Vietnam, understanding how it corresponds to, reflect and attend to contemporary Vietnamese society and politics. And our method is that we contextualize Vietnamese eco-criticism in contemporary social and political concerns about modernity-oriented post-colonial nation building of Vietnam, that mostly in journalist writing. And we suggest that the political terms in eco-criticism that reflect and engage with continuing Marxist perspectives of literature as an instruments for social criticism and cultural revolution in Vietnam. And yeah.
Yeah, okay. And by surviving, there are over 100 works on eco-criticism in Vietnam since 2017 up to present. We found that this work focused on the following key trends. The first trend is eco-criticism praises the beauty of nature and the harmony between man and nature in literary works. Many eco-critical works have found the ecological, aesthetic, and eco-emotional flows in Vietnamese literary works, such as poetry, short story, novels, prose from the medieval to modern periods. First, we consider that eco-aesthetic as a response to the reality that environment and ecosystem are being destroyed in Vietnam. The eco-criticism works show man's love and attachment to nature. It also expresses regret for the natural beauty that are no longer available. And it also emphasizes the worry that nature is being destroyed and environmental pollution is getting worse. From that, the eco-criticism works conveys the message of the importance of ecological harmony, reminding people of the value of living in a way that respects nature and preserves the traditional ecological environment. And the second trend of eco-criticism works is on the issue of animal and other non-human beings. This eco-criticism research criticize the brutal treatment of animals by humans in Vietnamese literature. It reflects public concern about the extinction of many plants and animal species and the decline in species diversity. For example, you can see that many animals such as tiger, bear, rhino, and elephant are killed for tiger bone, for bear bite, for rhino horn, and ivory. Many other animals and birds are hunted simply for the food or for entertainment of mankind. For example, about the risk of extinction for tiger, the World Wildlife Fund estimates that until January 2022, Vietnam has only about 5 tigers left in the wild. Meanwhile, the one-horned rhino was confirmed to be extinct in Vietnam in October 2011. By criticizing man's act of exploiting precious minerals in literary works, eco-criticism work also oppose the action of man destroying the nature. From this, the eco-criticism in Vietnam, one of the consequences that humans must suffer from brutal treatment of all species. The third trend of eco-criticism in Vietnam is on the issue of deforestation. Many eco-critics pay attention to the forest-related issue in literary works. For example, they pay attention to human overexploitation of resources in the forest, as well as the deforestation process by logging or destructing coastal forests. They also pay attention to the man's feeling of attachment to forests, and also pay attention to the struggle of brave people to protect the forest. This eco-criticism also reflects the public concern about severe deforestation in Vietnam, especially illegal logging and the destruction of protecting forests. You can see that the data that before 1945, forest cover in Vietnam accounted for 43.8%, but now it is just over 28% and below the alarming level of 30%. From that, the eco-criticism in Vietnam expressed the desire of eco-critics to raise one more cry for help from the forest, as quoted by one standing critic in Vietnam, Nguyen Thi Tam Anh. The fourth trend in eco-criticism in Vietnam is on the problem of environmental pollution and ecological trend. Environmental pollution and ecological trend is a major theme in modern literature and current literary eco-criticism. These concerns stem from the environmental disaster and ecological trend taking place in Vietnam. For example, we can give here some typical environmental disaster happen in Vietnam. For example, the pollution of Dong Nai River, especially in 2008 due to Vedan Company, and the massive death of fish in the sea of central Vietnam due to the toxic waste of the Formosa Hà Tĩnh factory in 2016. From this, the eco-criticism expressed the care and concern of Vietnamese intellectuals about the environmental management in Vietnam and their desire to improve this management systematically and effectively. The fifth trend of eco-criticism in Vietnam is dealing with the issue of social justice. Vietnamese eco-criticisms are concerned with the fate of the disadvantaged social group in Vietnam in literary works. Typical disadvantaged social group include displaced peasants, poor women, and ethnic minority. They are victims of ecological trend and environmental destruction in the process of industrialization and modernization taking place in Vietnam. Eco-criticism also implies that protecting the environment, maintaining ecological balance is one of the ways to reduce inequality in society. And the sixth trend in ecological works is Vietnamese eco-critical statement about social engagement. Vietnamese eco-critic claims that eco-criticism and literature should become a stronger chain that is practically attached to social life, protecting environment and human beings' future, and to train community awareness for the sake of sustainable development. And from all this chain, we would like to give some conclusion. Please.
Sorry, I need to turn on my microphone. Our first assumption is that the more political and engagement of Vietnamese eco-criticism reflect the increasing social and political engagement of eco-criticism in general. A lot of key eco-critics theorists in the world have emphasized the present-day complex of social and political engagement of eco-criticism. For example, Dana Phillips had addressed that present-day eco-critics need to address the complex of acid rain, global warming, and a host of other environmental ills. Lauren Boyer states that eco-criticism should focus more on impoverished and socially marginalized, the voice of victims of environmental injustice. Gifford have pointed out new direction of eco-criticism, including ecofeminism, toxic industry, urbanization, globalization, ethnic national identity, and environmental justice. And second, we suggest that the political engagement of Vietnamese eco-criticism continue the tradition of politics-oriented literary criticism in Vietnam. Since the medieval time, Vietnamese scholars believed on papers as a special autonomous power to alter reality and to stipulate a sweeping transformation of society. So I quote from David Ma. And here I quote some famous quotes from our leading intellectual from 13th century to the 19th to the and the early 20th century. All of these quotes emphasize how the pen or writing can change the soul, can be used as an instrument to criticize the society and to have power to change the reality of society, and especially in modern times since the 1920s, with the influence until now with the influence of Marxist-Leninist doctrine and related realism criticism, the political engagement of literature and literary criticism is more strong. And anyone who go to school in Vietnam have been familiar with the saying by Trường Trinh, a revered revolutionary character, saying that using pen to put upside down the regime. Its poetic verse is a poem and a belief that are able to destroy power and authority. And more importantly, this type of national allegory in Vietnamese eco-criticism is characteristic of literature interpretation in former colonial condition like Vietnam. Marxist literary critics in West, that some Marxist literary critics have said, especially since the 1980s, 2080s, have emphasized. For example, as explained by Marxist literary critics, Frederick Jameson in 1986 refer to the way of reading literary text as the embedded situation of the public culture and society. A national allegory forms the third world literature efforts in producing authentic and sovereign subjectivity and collectivity that have been suppressed by colonialism and its post-colonial legacy. So we suggest that eco-criticism originated from the West, come to Vietnam and continue the long tradition of Vietnamese view of literature as one of the material forces that must reflect and infect social and political realities, among which are environmental, historical, and political reality of modern Vietnam. And eco-criticism in Vietnam functions both as a literary approach and a complex political force that address and attack current public concern about modernization and industrialization. Thus, post-colonial Vietnamese government sees as a way to reach the ultimate goal of Vietnamese national building, that is socialism. Yeah, and thank you so much for the listening.
All right, thank you very much, Pham and Ho Thi Tam. We'd like to call Baek Yong-soon of Bangkok University for his response to this presentation.
Hello, my name is Yong-hoon Baek. I am assistant professor working at Bangkok University. It is my honor to greet Dr. Pham and Thanh. As I studied sociology, so I am very interested in social changes and consequences of human behavior in Vietnam. This article introduces considerable detail how the recent literature approaches the ecological and environmental crises caused by modernization and industrialization. So I really enjoyed reading your paper and presentation. I hope that my comments also can be helpful for your research. I would like to comment and ask questions regarding the material and structure of the paper. As I'm not familiar with Vietnamese literature, I am not sure that I'm fully understanding the behind meaning, so please kindly understand. Firstly, it concerns the representativeness of the data. The reason I am asking this question may be because I did not major in Vietnamese literature. It is necessary to explain why the literary works covered in this paper were selected. Most of the references are from 2017 or later. You mentioned two international conferences, but I don't think that's enough. And are there any characteristics that have changed compared to before and after the conference in 2017? Secondly, the two authors, Pham and Thanh, summarized the author's name, subject, and main content of each literary work in detail. If the reader reads the title of this paper first, it is expected that the content and characteristics of the literary work will be emphasized more. However, most of the text mainly refers to social and environmental issues. To deal with this problem, I would like to suggest that the sentences and expressions in literary works need to be quoted more directly. Third, it related to the structure of the text. The last part of the conclusion is the author's argument, so that it is very important. In the conclusion, the authors mentioned the concept of national allegories and related previous studies. And in fact, this part should have been presented in advance in the introduction part. And in the conclusion, it is necessary to focus on contribution of this study to complement the concepts presented in previous studies. And finally, today, environmental crisis draws attention not only in Vietnam, but also other countries. So many countries take approach for ecocentric society to preserve the nature and human being itself. And literature has always reflected on the fundamentals of life and searched for a way to live a human life. So is there anything more unique about Vietnam compared to other countries? At this point, need to be emphasized a little more in this paper. Thank you for having me today, and I hope my humble comment would be helpful for you. Nguyen Thi Tam Anh.
Yeah. Pham or Ho Tan, you may respond, but please limit your response to a little bit around 2 minutes only, so we can proceed to the next presenters. If you want to respond to Professor Baek.
Ho Tan, you want to give a response?
Okay, yes, you first.
Kindly limit to 2 minutes. Thank you.
Okay. Chi, can you hear me? Chi, please.
Yeah.
Em hay chị đấy?
Do you want to give a response?
Oh, no. If you like, if you can.
Oh, okay.
First
So
of
thank you so much, Professor Toung-Hoon, for the discussion, which is very helpful and very clear. I saw here clearly 4 points that are very useful for when we revise our paper. And actually, of course, we will take it in our account when we revise our paper, especially when you mentioned that. I completely agree with you that the concept of national allegory should be in the beginning, at the very early of the paper. And in terms of the point about literary, I think we should have a small quote about literary work in this paper. Actually, we will do that, but in some level, because our main subject, research subject of this paper is not literary works, but the scholarship about literature in Vietnam. That is the scholarly writing about literature. So we focus on researcher, not the writer. Yeah, but of course I think that it's better on it's best that we need to have some that we incorporate literary work and some explanation, some quotation about literary works. Yeah, just to indicate that we are working on literary studies. Yeah, yeah, and in terms of the concern about the data, yeah, we could consider about that too. Yeah, thank you so much.
I'm here. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is CAO Kim-Lan. I work as a researcher at Institute of Literature, Vietnam Academy of Social Science. The subject of my presentation today is the shapes of masculine domination in Vietnam, examining myths and hybrid characteristics in feminist texts in the Vietnamese newspaper in the early 20th century. To begin, I would like to introduce some background of my subjects. Firstly, in the early 20th century, Vietnam became the French colonized. And in that circumstance, the Vietnamese press was the most important vehicle for reflecting all aspects in societies. And the feminist movement in the early 20th century was not a pure social phenomenon that fought for women's equal rights. It also campaigned related to many political, economic, cultural issues as well the nationalism. In the context of colonial countries, women had voice, and men, the male intellectual, have women to deal with their issues. And Nguyen Văn Vĩnh and Phan Khôi are representative scholars who fought for women equal rights. Nguyen Văn Vĩnh was a well-known Vietnamese journalist, writer, and radical politician. He is not just an exceptional intellectual with a profound understanding of Western culture, but also a Vietnamese tradition with his desire to reform society. We saw the shortcomings of traditional custom while disseminating moral knowledge and methods. And the second individual is Phan Khôi. He was a renowned scholar, poet, writer, and talented journalist. He's also the active participant in application of Western thought, receiving new idea and criticism feudal Mandarins and French colonialists. These two intellectual voices have profound effects on spiritual life and Vietnamese people in general, and women in particular in the early 20th century. I divided my presentation into three main parts. The first part, I focus on the phenomenon of ventriloquism, and the second part, I So second part is the main direct discourse, and the last one I give some suggestion about natures of Vietnamese feminism. Now I would like to look at the phenomenon of patriarchism in the early 20th century feminist movement in Vietnam. A wake-up call for gender inequality and changes in men's consciousness. In the column Women's Words in two newspapers, Đăng Cổ Tuần Báo and Đông Dương Tạp Chí, Nguyễn Văn Vĩnh uses pseudonym Miss Đào Thị Loan in order to show his viewpoint about women issues. Under the guise of women, Nguyễn launches a discussion on varieties of significant topics concerning women's status. Firstly, prohibiting women from obtaining an education. Secondly, condemning men's backward viewpoints on women's slavery position by using concise and vivid daily stories. Thirdly, discussing men's polygamy. And finally, teaching and criticize women's bad habit in order to compare them to change. For example, facing views that educated girls are easy to adore, enormous and dissolute individuals. Women who are literate may write a letter of love to other men. Thus, use how a man should live in order for his wife respect him is probable to keeping her at home. If males have narrow-minded beliefs, they will just make bondage life for their wives and pleasure themselves. The education program is a critical issue because teaching women is the best course of action when it comes to the race of Vietnamese people and Vietnam's future. From the viewpoint of happy and virtuous thing depend on the mother, Nguyen argues that women have an important role in family because they shoulder the duty of raising their children. It can be said that ventriloquism is a solution for feminist movement in Vietnam in the early 20th century, transforming the interaction between men and feminism into the unique phenomenon. Nguyễn column Women's Words, written by the pseudonym Đào Thị Loan, can be considered the earliest case, and a requirement for ideal women as well, speaking out of some issues that have never appeared in the female mind previously, including perception of polygamy. Expose that Miss Daw's discourse contains men's desire and creates a kind of language with hybrid characteristics. Apart from ventriloquism, male intellectuals directly show their voices. So in the second part, I would like to show the men's discourse in the feminist movement in Vietnam. It is a model of women's liberation from male-dominated perspective. Phan is a person who devotes his whole life to changing communication perception on women's issues through discussion concerning Confucianism in Vietnam. Phan as a main author both of Phụ nữ Tân Văn and Phụ nữ Thời Đại strongly fight against Confucianism backwards idea. In his arguments, Phan concentrates on three issues: women and education, women and occupation, and women with literatures. For the first issues, women and education, he said that women must realize their basic requirements and rights. Also, according to Pham, he said that women are not only trained to sew, shop, cook, and give birth and raise children. Males want women to become human beings. What a man is a way of, a woman is a way of. Only one thing women need to remember is that when imparting new knowledge, it should be tailored to women's level. By identifying education at the root of human evolution, feminism from Pham and other male intellectuals' perspectives in Vietnam have emphasized the primary of education. If women have independence in both materials and minds, she will be able to take care of her body and spirits, and they will possess their knowledge and ability to compete on an equal footing with men. Fighting for women's equal rights to be educated is considered as the most important step for changing women's perceptions and thinking about their issues, because it teaches them not only how to be good wives and good mothers, but also how to be human beings. All these reasons are perceived as education's goals, but what men expect from educated women is an understanding of limitations and abilities of knowledge that are appropriate for each situation faced by Vietnamese women. The next issue is the women's motherhood and profession. Confronted with the deeply ingrained viewpoint in the community's psychology belief that a woman's profession should be that of a wife and mother. Pham is forced to explain we must ensure that every woman respects her professions in order for her to be able to live entirely on her own ability. Giving up the habit of living off her husband and relying on her children and losing all motivation for her actions. As we all know, if we live in dependence on someone, we are effectively slaves to them. Therefore, how can we speak liberties and equality? For the issue of women and literature, Pham openly persuaded women to take the opportunity of writing. It can be said that the relationship between women and literature is the last topic, but it is significant in demonstrating women's voices and building their new position in society. Writing is the proof of women's intellectual advancement. When women get a particular amount of knowledge, they can change their awareness and internal thinking, thereby gaining their voice. Based on examining two phenomena, ventriloquism and men's direct discourse, I would like to give some suggestions about the natures of Vietnamese feminism. It is the shapes of masculine domination or another form of protecting men's privilege. Vietnamese feminism is a phenomenon in that it was initiated and implemented by male intellectuals. As a result, the relationship between males and feminism is indeed a controversial issue and contains many implied issues that transcend the boundaries of so-called women's issues and women's rights. Firstly, feminism in Vietnam is associated with two main tasks: increasing female labor force participation and opposing the Confucianism backward ideas. Thanh confirms that his struggle is to prepare to lead our nation toward progress rather than towards destruction. And in order to encourage women to participate in social activities, male intellectuals assist them to overcome obstacles in their minds that originated from Confucianism. Therefore, feminism in Vietnam, first of all, is a movement that fights for women's equal rights to be a human being, for the right to be educated, for the right to be work, and for the right to be happiness. Next point is the relationship between men and in feminism. Not only can be roles and contribution of men to Vietnamese women's liberation be determined, but also the nature of this movement may be recognized. In the last point, I would like to show that exploring men's discourse uncovered that men's authorities' voices are maintained and prevailed in this setting. The most significant speeches in the early stages of the Vietnamese feminism movements are men's discourses. In a colonial nation, because the women remain extremely weak and are incapable of self-sufficiency, it is unavoidable that men discourse emerged as a sympathy and understanding. Thus, Vietnamese feminism has imbued its discourses with men's authorities, expressed through reminder, admonition, teachings, and warnings, continuing to play a critical and proactive roles in all efforts aimed at achieving gender equality in society. Male intellectuals become both subjects and objects of investigation and analysis. And this parity between men and women regarding their knowledge and capacity is so huge that it results in men maintain a disproportionate share of power in Vietnam. Despite the fact that women had achieved some certain human rights, hence men can share with, sympathize with, and encourage women, but their Western style liberation cannot be achieved. Now I would like to end with summary of the main points. Firstly, ventriloquism and men's discourse are that campaigned for Vietnamese women equal rights, a major representation that establishes a substantial shift in thought, laying the groundwork for transforming women's position in society. Secondly, males were the ones who actively initiated, planned, and implemented in the press, and were the main force. As a result, it is inevitable that Vietnamese feminism would be confirmed as a movement created under the controls of male power. Thirdly, male intellectuals are primarily concerned with the right to be a human being within the confines of the traditional moral standard, model, and thought in community. Also, because males are both the subjects and objects in this fight, the masculine authorship is an active one within a certain framework. The emergence of feminism does not imply the loss of male dominance, but rather the act of sharing responsibility with the countries and community. Finally, The motivation for men's voluntariness in fighting, as well as the concession of equal rights to women, are the compromise between cultural and political goals, between traditional cultural norms and national interests. Well, that is from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So let's proceed with our discussant, Nguyen Thi Tam Anh.
Yes. Hello. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, please proceed.
Yes, thank you. My name is Nguyen Thi Tam Anh. I'm a lecturer at Ho Chi Minh City Open University, and I am a discussion for topic 2, session 7, the shift of the masculine domination in Vietnam, examining mixed and hybrid characteristics in feminist state in the Vietnamese newspaper in the early 20th century. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer of the International Conference for giving me the opportunity to and learn more. To be honest, this is a fairly new field for me. So I read the paper of Professor CAO Kim-Lan with a lot of excitement. Thank you for your interesting paper. And now I would like to have some discussion about this paper. The paper examines the popular phenomenon of ventriloquism of the Vietnamese male intellectual whose dominant attitude has still been unveiled in the feminist text. In addition, the author also answers the question of why Vietnamese men become feminist through Vietnamese newspaper in the early 20th century. In part 2, the author mentioned Nguyễn Văn Vĩnh, a famous Vietnamese journalist, writer, and radical politician in the early 20th century. We have recorded a lot of very valuable data showing the fight for the feminist movement by men voices. And I agree that in a country heavily influenced by conscious thoughts like Vietnam, ventriloquism is a solution for the feminist movement in Vietnam in the early 20th century, transforming the interaction between men and feminism into a unique phenomenon. Next, the author mentioned Phan Khôi, a renowned scholar, poet, writer, and talented journalist who openly speaks about feminism from a male perspective. From the analysis of the above two authors, along with the Vietnamese social context in the early 20th century, the author said that the primary purpose of this feminist movement is to focus on the country destiny in which its internal reform is the only route out of slavery. And I feel a bit confused with this statement. Therefore, I would like the author to be able to provide additional argument or theory you adopt to make this point of view. Besides Vietnam, there are also Japan and Korea are also influenced by Confucianism. If possible, I hope that Professor CAO Kim-Lan can share more similarities and differences between the feminist movement in these countries based on your research experience. In particular, I feel very impressed with the point of view that should emphasize the influence of indigenous religion called Mother Buddhist religion of Vietnam, and it makes conventional practice of Vietnam different from other cultures. In my opinion, I think the cultural mindset of Vietnamese people is very respectful of women, and Vietnamese women have a certain amount of soft power inside their families. So I wonder if there is a connection between the family background of the two characters that Professor Lan chose to analyze and their feminist views. Can you show more about this? Yes, that's all. Yes. Once again, I want to say thank you to the International Conference and Professor CAO Kim-Lan. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The presenter may give at least 2-minute response before we sum up because we're running out of time again. Yes, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Your very useful comments, Professor Nguyen Thi Tam Anh. Yes, because of my internet connection is very unstable, so I hear not clear when you comment, but I'm not exactly. You said about the soft power. Yeah, is it right?
Soft power. Yeah, she mentioned soft power.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree with you that Vietnamese women have a kind of even in the early 20th centuries, so many women just work at their home, and their occupation is only become the good wife and good mother, and raise their children. But and many documents say that the Vietnamese women have a kind of soft power in their family. I think that has been impacted on Mother Buddhist religion in Vietnam. So I agree with you about these ideas, and thank you very much for your comments. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we have only 4 minutes left for for today. Is that correct, Professor Kim? Yeah, we only have around 4 minutes. I think we're supposed to end at 15:40. So we're following Korean time. So I actually wish to provide the synthesis.
Please. I would like to ask.
Please go ahead. Yes, go ahead, please.
I write the chat box, but you cannot see. I really don't know. You have on your PowerPoint, you show at the forward on confucius doctrines. I do not remember all these forwards. Spelling is N-O-N-G, D-U-N-G. Your PowerPoint is is written on your PowerPoint. Forwards on Confucius doctrines. So the women are suppressed by the men whites. You show your PowerPoint. I would like to know the meanings of forwards, N-U-N-G, D-U-N-G, you mean. You see? On your PowerPoint.
Anh là câu nói chuyện lại. Lưu mà nghe không?
On your PowerPoint, show that forwards. Confucius doctrine express the forwards. So these forwards suppress the woman by male whites. You show that. I mean, what is the meaning of these forwards?
I think she's referring to a section in your article.
Yes, yes. The last I think the last PowerPoint before the last PowerPoint has showed it.
Maybe we can. Maybe we can show the PowerPoint. Because it was recorded.
Please, Professor PowerPoint.
Yeah, it was recorded, so I don't know if we have access to the PowerPoint, but she's asking about a certain portion of the PowerPoint. No, she needs to clarify, or she's asking if she can clarify what it means. Can we actually put that out again? That the last slide. Are you talking about the last slide? Yes.
I think before the last one.
Before the last slide. All right.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's actually a question for you, Kao.
Yes, you have PowerPoint.
Yes. It's a question for you. She's asking about your PowerPoint.
So you want to know about the last
second to the last.
Okay.
You should use your last PowerPoint. Before the last PowerPoint slide.
Okay. Can I share?
Can we allow Kao to share screen, please?
Yeah.
Yes. Feminism slide.
Yeah.
Feminism slide.
Wait a moment, please.
Confucian doctrines on these 4 words.
You want to know?
Yeah, about the Confucian doctrine.
They will play, so they will play the video.
Because it's recorded.
Yeah, that's
recorded
right.
with the.
Could you down change like could you down like? How damn? Yeah, now I'm both here. Come around change like. Okay. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is KIAO Kim-Lan.
Can we just
the subjects
before this?
The next one.
The slide before this.
Before.
Yeah. All right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Therefore, through 4 values, CONG, DUNG, NGON, and HANH. I do not forget. I don't remember these words. So I mean these 4 values. What are the meanings of 4 values? CONG. I read. For example, about women within males
this one. Yeah.
Although publicly criticizing Commission doctrines backward. Tenets against women, of course, these norms through 4 values. CONG, DUNG, NGON, and HANH. I mean, what is the meaning of these 4 words? Okay.
So you want to know about the
4 values. 4 values. In this paragraph, 4 values.
This paragraph. This
yes,
one.
4 values. Yes, these 4 values. I read again. For example, about women within male supremacy, Vietnamese feminists also publicly criticizing Confucian doctrines backward. Tenets against women affirm these norms through 4 values. What is the meaning of 4 values? What are the 4 values?
You want to know.
You mentioned the 4 virtues here, so so she's asking for definitions. No? Can you respond to that? Yeah, the 4 virtues.
4. The definition. Sorry. So about these paragraphs, I want to focus the feature that the Vietnamese feminism movement because men is the objects and subjects of this movement. In this movement, So even they fight for women equal rights, that they keep their interest and their power in another ways. So
I think she is asking about the 4 virtues. I don't know how to. I don't know how to to pronounce them, but this was pointed out by Nguyen Thi. I think this is her question.
Okay. The 4. Okay, here.
What are the 4 virtues?
4 virtues in Vietnamese, công dung ngôn hạnh. The originated from the Confucianism. That said that the công means the women in work, and dung means the appearance of women. That means and ngôn means the women's speech, the women words. They had to say something is very nice in their homes, and hạnh means the virtues in the qualities of the women.
All right.
Yeah, the 4 virtues.
All right. So was the question answered?
Yes. Okay. This is relevant, Kansas. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yes, I am interested.
All right. Just to close the discussion, because we're really running out of time. We're supposed to move into the closing of the conference now. Allow me to just put in some pieces of advice and synthesis for both papers. So I'll start first with the earlier presenter. I think to help support the commentary of Baek Young-soon, I would suggest a reorganization of the paper. I think these vital questions should be asked. No? Number 1, when did the eco-critical movement start in Vietnam? I think that has to be mentioned as a foregrounding of history. Number 2, who were the main proponents? Number 3, what were the critical works and the ideas? And that's where you actually begin quoting from the works. And then for number 4, what other directions could be taken in order to sustain eco-criticism? All right. You may actually just email me. I can provide you some other ideas for the paper. As for the last paper, I hope the problems of ventriloquism may also be explored further. Somehow it also begs the question asked by Gayatri Spivak: can the subaltern speak? Were women really given voice, no, in this context, no, in this practice? Do they really know? Do these writers really know the female concerns? No, there seems to be a silencing of the women. All right, as the male writers wrote in behalf of them, or as you've said, aptly described as ventriloquism. Very, very nice term. Number 2, I think, were there movements from Vietnamese women writers to reclaim their voices, ventriloquized by these male writers? I think that would be, a good project. All right. And finally, I'm also interested with the reception of the articles written by these male writers. Now, how were they received by the audiences, particularly women? So, we don't have much time for responses anymore. So we can just probably correspond to each other via email, since this is all happening virtually. As I've said, that's all for today. This is quite an enriching discussion from Vietnam. Congratulations to all our presenters and discussants, and much gratitude to our indefatigable conference organizers. I will now turn you over to our home base in Busan for the final proceedings. Once again, thank you, and from the Philippines, mabuhay.
Thank you very much.